Welcome back to Prime for Battle. In this week's video, we're going to be straddling the line between the old world and Age of Sigmar, painting a Goblin Warboss on Giant Cave Squig. The paints we've used in today's video can be seen on the screen in front of you right now. You can see I've popped him on two different bases, mounting the round Age of Sigmar base on top of the square one. Let's jump in. To start with, we're going to be using some Flesh Tearers Red contrast, and we're going to use this all over the Giant Cave Squig for its flesh skin. You want to apply this in fairly generous amounts over the entirety of the skin so that you can build that nice contrast and shading in the recesses. Then we're going to move into Warboss Pink for the tongue. Again, apply this to the inside of the mouth in entirety and all over the tongue. Don't worry too much if you get it on some of the teeth. From there, we're going to use some Mephiston Red, and we are going to apply this in sort of highlights on all the raised areas of the flesh, so any ridges of the cheekbones or around the face, the knees, around the legs, top of the toes, etc. And just really sort of bringing out those raised areas of the red. And then from there, we're going to use some pink horror. We're going to use this all around the gums and around the nose and face, just to highlight some of those really characterful, sort of accentuated areas in the face and around the lips and whatnot. And also, don't forget the feet and under the belly. From there, we're using some Druchii Violet, and this will be applied over the entirety of the skin. And this will really shade those recesses and add some nice deep purple tone into that red, which does really well for shading. Next up, we're going to use some Skeleton Horde, and we're going to apply this over all of the teeth to give them that nice sort of yellowish stained bone look. And prior to this, I've just gone back over the teeth with Wraithbone just to cover up any bits of contrast that we may have got over that in prior steps. Now what we've done is some Black Templar mixed with contrast medium, about 25% Black Templar to 75% contrast medium, just to give us a nice dark shade to go over all of the claws and the horns on the head. And then I've followed that up with some Agrax Earthshade, just to add to those earthy tones on the bones and claws, and really bring a bit of tone and depth into that bonish sort of texture. Now going back to some pink horror, just to bring out some ridges and spots around the gums again that have been covered with the violet, and also just a bit on the tongue, just following some of those lines and creases that are already there around the eyes and nose as well, especially. And then we're going to use some Imperial Fist just quickly to bring out those eyes and make them really glow. Now I'm just going to do some wildwood over that ground base that he has, just to sort of fill in that earthy dirt. And then coming back to the eyes with some Abaddon Black, just going to carefully place some little lines in the center of those eyes to give him a nice, sinister, squig-like stare. Very carefully using a fine tip. Now, for the mushrooms, I'm using some Targor Rage Shade for the stalk of the mushroom, which has a nice sort of off purpley, dirty sort of colour, and I think it works quite well for the mushrooms. And then coming through with some Carroburg Crimson for the tops of the mushroom, the hats, the heads. Either way, giving them a nice sort of light pinkish tone. Now we're going to move on to the Goblin Warboss. To start with, we're going to use some Basilicanum Grey contrast, and we're going to apply that over all of the armour and the cloak other than the hood. So everywhere that is armour, or his pants, shirt, etc. Sleeves, apply that generously all over. And then from there, I'm using some Plague Bearer flesh for the skin. Apply that to his head, his hands, and there's a little bit of arm visible just in between the gloves and the shoulders. Again, be generous with this so that it pulls in the recesses. Now I'm just going through with some Ogren Camo, and I'm just highlighting some of the ridges of that skin. So on the fingers, the knuckles, the top of the head, the ears, the eyebrows, etc. And then we're going to apply some Coelia Green Shade over the entirety of the skin, just to shade in the recesses a bit more with some different green tone. Apply that over all of the skin. And then we're coming back again with the Ogren Camo, and again just applying that in the higher areas there, top of the ears, the eyebrows, top of the head, on the knuckles, some highlights on the biceps that you can see. Again, just brings a little bit of different tone and texture to that skin. Then we're going to use some Iron Jaws yellow for the hood. So I wanted the hood to stand out as a little bit different than the rest of the cloak, and I think the yellow is synonymous with the night goblins of old. Then we're going to move into some wildwood. Predominantly this is for the spear. I believe it's a cavalry spear or lance. It's for the handle. Don't forget the little bit on the end. And then we're going to use some Black Templar and apply that over the spear tip and also the little bracket on the end of the handle, as well as the little moon on the back of the hood. Now we're going to come through with some Lead Belcher, and we're going to apply that over all of the armor, which we have previously done with the grey. So that's the glove, there is a back piece and shoulder pieces, and then also the legs and boots. And then I'm going to use some Balthazar gold just to paint in that little moon on the end of the hood. As a little nice touch, we're going to use some Blood Angel red to fill in the eyes of the goblin. So I understand that goblins have blood red eyes. And then as a finishing touch, we're going to come through with some Nuln oil and apply this over the entirety of the armor and the hood and the spear. And there we have it, our Night Goblin Warboss on Giant Cave Squig, mounted on an Age of Sigmar base, which is then mounted into a square base for the old world, so that he can fit the purpose of both. Thanks for watching. As always, it would be really appreciated if you would like and subscribe the video, which will help me reach more people. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again next time on the battlefield. Bye for now.